Agogo. Agogo is a resilient person, and this is demonstrated by her ability to persevere to study medicine despite the many challenges along the way. She's a high achiever, and she motivates many people daily across her social media platforms by her resilience and also her passion for the things of God. She's a writer, video creator, speaker, and medical student. Can we please give it up for the one, the only Agogo Sophie Apara? Hi guys, welcome back to another season of Sharon Speaks. Woo, 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 woo. I just want to say, guys, massive thank you guys for season 1. Honestly, I just did not expect that level of you guys liking it and the feedback. Honestly, guys, thank you so much. In this episode, guys, I'm so excited because I just feel like we have someone with a wealth of knowledge in our presence. Even me, I'm here ready to take notes because I just know that it's gonna be amazing. So we have with us the one, the only Agogo.
Hey.
How are you?
I'm good. I'm excited to be. I don't know what that. Yeah.
Either do I, girl.
No, I'm so excited to be here, thank you so much. Thank you for inviting me on.
Because I'm just when you said yes, I was okay, good. I was really, really excited. As I said. So thank you so much for coming. How have you been?
I've been okay. I've been chilling, relaxing, just trying to enjoy my summer.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Do fun things like this and enjoy my life now that I have a bit of a break.
How's first year of med school for you?
It was intense. Mm-hmm. So I feel like I had expectations going into medicine, and it definitely surpassed that expectation in terms of goods and in terms of bads, because I didn't expect it to be as challenging as it was. However, at the same time, it's what I wanted to do. It's what I've always wanted to do. And so it's kind of balancing that act of, this is what I've chased after for so long. This has been my dream for so long. And now I'm actually in it. And obviously when a dream begins to actualize, you begin to see that it's not as picture perfect as you imagined, you know what I mean? But I'm so grateful nonetheless, and I wouldn't be in anything
I feel
else.
For when I just see you, I just see resilience, because that's all I see. Because even your journey to med school, which hopefully we get into and stuff like that, I don't see, even I had to ask myself, Sharon, if you keep doing this, God forbid, and it fails the first year, the second year, third year, fourth year, will I keep going? Do you know that sort of thing? And the fact that you're able to keep going time and time again, I'm just wow, you're so resilient.
Hi guys, my name is Agogo Sophie Apara, and I'm a medical student, as obviously that's what we're talking about. I'm also a TikToker, a writer and stuff like that. Yeah, so when it came to medicine, my journey was very up and down. So I decided I wanted to become a doctor when I was around 13, 14 years old. It happened very randomly, actually. So I was a kid who had a lot of interests. I wanted to be everything. I literally remember writing a list down on an A4 sheet of paper once of all the things I wanted to be, and there was literally 20 something things there.
Amazing.
I always had this mindset of I can do everything.
I love that.
Do you know what I mean? And when it came to medicine, I was around 14, and my best friend in secondary school at the time, we were walking down the corridor one day, and I remember this so vividly. She was like, "Oh, I want to be a pediatric oncologist." And I was like, "What's that?" And she was like, "Oh, it's a doctor that takes care of children that have cancer." And I was like, "Oh, that's interesting." And I didn't say anything more, but when I went home that day, I went to read everything about it. I went to read all about doctors, what the different types of doctors are, what they do, the type of salary they get. I went to read everything about it, and that's when
14.
Yeah, 14. I feel like I've always kind of been driven since I was younger. So I was like, let me find out what I can, and that's where it kind of began. So I started looking into everything I needed to do at around 15 at the time. Yeah, not what a typical 15-year-old, I guess,
I'm thinking, what was I doing at 15, child? And it was not that. It was not that.
Oh my gosh, but I don't know. I just had that kind of laser focus. I really want to do this, and I've heard that it's hard, so I need to start working early. Now, I feel like the disadvantage I had is I wasn't in a private school, and I was trying to actually get into medicine in the UK. Now, medicine in the UK is very hard to get into, and because it's competitive, people from all over the world are trying to get into it. So I didn't have the resources that I would have needed to help me. So I was doing everything by myself, essentially, learning about the system in the UK, learning about personal statements, about what's required, about how many A's I need in my leaving cert to get in. And it was challenging, but I didn't see it as a challenge because I was I feel like when you're a kid, you kind of have this invincible mindset of I can do anything. You don't really think of, oh, this is a limitation. I didn't see it as a limitation. I was like, this is the circumstance I found myself in. I must make best of what I have. So I started applying. My first application went across at 16. And to cut a long story short, it took me about 6 attempts before I actually got in. So I started the journey at 16 years old. And I remember at the time my guidance counselors in school were like,
I don't think so.
Yeah.
Because they always try to project their insecurities or what they wish they did onto you. And that's why you said something about like as a child, like you have that level of like you feel invincible.
Yeah.
And that's one thing even growing up I'm trying to keep, because as you grow older and you start telling people like different things you want to achieve, they start projecting like insecurities of like their limitations onto you and just seeing everything as, oh, okay, this is in my way, but I can just hop over it. Do you know what I mean? Rather than letting it like defeat you. That's the mentality. Like I think it's really good to like keep yourself in.
Yeah, I know a lot of, like I was actually having a conversation with my friend about that just the other day, because I have a very big goal. I'm not going to say here. But it's a type of goal that I suppose not a lot of people achieve in a lifetime. Now, the other day I was with my friends, and I love my friends, genuinely speaking, I love them. And I told them that, oh, I have this goal. And they started laughing at me. Like their immediate response was to laugh. And I was shocked because I was like, what's funny?
Like, this is what I want to do.
This is what I want to do. What's funny about this? And they kept laughing, but then they realized that, oh, she's not laughing with us, and they stopped. And I was like, no, what's funny though? Because I have a full belief. You know when you think that everybody, because no, like I genuinely believe my friends support me. They're on my side. But it comes down to the thing you're saying. When people limit themselves in their mind, they begin to limit other people. Yeah. It's like, if I can't achieve that, you can't achieve that either.
And that's why even like when you start going, even something as small, but it's not even small because in the grand scheme of things, it's you need to do it. Even something like going on a journey of like bettering yourself.
Yeah.
The people that would discourage you the most is the people beside you, because there was a certain point you guys were all in that bubble together. And you guys were all like, I don't know, you guys didn't really think about anything else. But then you decide to be that person that dares to go out of what is the norm. Of course, they're going to be like, who the hell do you think you are? Why do you need to do this? Why do you need to do that? So like, if you want to do anything great, I always say like, it's not even personal, but the people around you will probably not be the first people to be on your side in that vision. And that's okay. And then there's one thing that I remember God told me, and I still stand by this. It was like, your personal calling is not a conference call. I called you, I showed you, I gave you the vision. It's not a conference call. And there's also, I think it was Miles Monroe, someone I was listening to recently, like, you work so hard that other people now start to believe it for you. But if you're just saying it and you're still in that position of like not doing nothing, or you're just half-heartedly believing you can do it, then it's like, oh, my friend once said to me, and I think I said even last season, she said to me, Sharon, we're only ever going to take you as seriously as you take yourself. I was like, wow. Okay. So this is my chance now to like go harder, to show you guys that I'm not just saying this because I want to say it. I'm going to achieve this. And everything about me will scream someone that's going to achieve this. You know what I mean? Yeah. But,
it kind of goes down to that kind of principle of people respect you and you respect yourself type of thing. And like, I think it's just a human thing. Like if you can't see evidence of something, it's hard to believe it until you begin to see evidence of that thing. And I think it comes to, that's how it is when people are believing in your dreams, or when you express something to somebody. Often the people that will encourage you are the people who see evidence of that already in your life. And if they don't have much to kind of work with. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's like one of my friends, like imagine I had a friend now who was completely uninterested in education, treated people poorly, had no extracurricular kind of activities or interests, and they tell me they want to be president. Even though, just the type of person I am, I won't actually say anything to discourage him. I'll just say, okay. But in the back of my mind, the truth is, I won't believe them. But like, but
you how? Vote for them,
exactly. Because it's like, I can't even trust you in a position like that because there's no evidence in your life. But that's why it comes down to, you are the only person that knows yourself. You are the only person that knows your capabilities. Everybody else is judging you based on their own perception. But if you know you know what's within you, then you can prove everybody else wrong. That's why, like, what I'm learning to realize and understand now is I don't have to wait for people's validation of the things I want to do before I do them.
It's getting hot in here. It's getting, no, because you're speaking to the masses. That validation thing, it goes so deep. It goes so deep. Last year, was it last year or the year? I feel like I'm always talking about last year on this podcast, guys. Yeah, because last year was that year for me, and this year too. But like last year, I really went on a journey of like validation, and it's even sometimes It's the smallest things. Why do you need someone to like your outfit before you wear it?
Yeah.
Why do you need someone to love your Instagram picture before you post it? Do you like it? Go ahead and post it. Do you like, go ahead and do it? You don't need to wait for external forces. And I started just like looking in that, and I'm not even looking for like the right type of validation. If I'm looking for Jesus to thumbs it up, that's cool.
Yeah.
But everything else, because it's also based on what you like, your aesthetic, what you see possible. So if I'm waiting for you to validate something, then no.
Exactly. And one of the things that I also like believe strongly in, like especially on the topic of goals and dreams and stuff like that, is you shouldn't be quick to take either advice or like criticism from people who aren't where you want to be. Do you know what I mean? I will humble myself and listen if somebody who's in the position I'm already in is telling me your dreams are a bit too big right now, be a little bit more realistic. Yes, they might be projecting, but there is an element of wisdom to get from that. And that's why I tell people, be careful who you're seeking advice from. Because if you seek advice from the wrong people, you're going to be discouraged thinking, oh, if they said it, then I can't do it. Meanwhile, if you're seeking it from the right people who have walked through those shoes already or done those things, they'll tell you a whole different story. And I think like the thing is, human beings, I've learned and I'm learning, we seek validation.
Yeah.
The only thing is we have to get to a point where we realize that we are the only people that can truly validate ourselves. But that's not going to stop us from seeking validation. The reason why we keep posting on Instagram, on social media and all of that stuff, although we love ourselves, or although we're trying to love ourselves already, is because there's still an element of us that seeks that external validation. So it's like, okay, if you're going to seek external validation, seek it from the right place. Do you know what I mean? Don't ignore the fact that we are built to look for, oh, what do you think of this? It's not a bad thing. It becomes bad when you kind of
security.
Exactly. But it becomes bad when you completely reduce your own voice. When your own voice in your head becomes silent, and it's like, no, I only depend on what other people say. It needs to be this healthy balance of, no, I know myself, but it's also okay to look for the kind of encouragement, the support, because we're humans. We need each other at the end of the day. Do you know what I mean?
Wow. I'm still taking in everything you said. You said something about taking advice from somebody that's kind of like in your position and or somewhere you want to be. Now I'm going to counteract that a little bit because I believe that you said something, you said you humble yourself and listen, right? But there's also a part of me that is like that, but there's a part of me that's like, you can learn from anybody else.
100%.
When I was seeking, I remember this vividly, when I was seeking leaving cert advice, I went to the people that had gone before me, like especially like the oldest in my school, I seeked advice, but then I went to people that I knew they failed. Do you know what I mean? Because people that succeed, there's a kind of like a tendency to downplay what you've done. It's like, oh yeah, just study, but balance it. But the people that failed will tell you everything that they wish they had done. Do you know what I mean? So I always try and go from like two extremes of the other. People that kind of like sit in a regret, because I just feel like the pain of regret speaks a lot louder than the feeling of success. Do you know what I mean? So then I would go to them and be like, right, so you did your leaving cert and you didn't exactly do how you wanted to do. Can you advise me? They'd be like, Sharon, I promise you, I feel like I got some of even the best advice from those people, because looking in hindsight, they were able to tell me, you know what, I wish I did this. I wish I did this better. I wish I like put my head down. But the people, no, do you know what? I just studied 1 hour a day. Just trying to minimize it. But no, you didn't. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? You would tell me the other people were telling me, Sharon, when your friends are going out, obviously go out sometimes, but be so for real with yourself. They would tell me like the nitty gritty of it, because these are things that they wish somebody told them. Do you know what I mean? So that's why I was like, let me just counteract that.
No, I completely agree with you. And the point I'm kind of making is not necessarily that the people you seek advice from have to be somewhere you want to be, but they've passed through where you want to go to. Do you know what I mean? Because I'm a person who's failed a lot of times. Do you know what I mean? I relate to those people who failed the leaving cert, for example. I failed getting into medicine 5 times before my 6th attempt. And somebody may look at me and be like, I don't want to ask her for advice because she failed. And that's okay if they look at me that way. But another person will come to me and say, I want to learn from the mistakes that you made. And I honestly believe that the failures I actually went through made me a lot more knowledgeable. I'm able to advise people now of, this is what you should do, this is what you shouldn't do, because this is what I didn't do back then, or this is why I did back then. And that's how I realized that I ended up in that path of failure. So when I say that you should seek advice from people who are in the position that you want to be in, or who have passed through that, I'm more so saying, don't seek advice from people who are too afraid to try in the first place.
Okay.
Do you know what I mean? Like, as I need to clarify that, because I take advice from anybody, honestly speaking, even if you're in a whole different path of life as me, because I think there's wisdom to learn from all sorts of people, no matter what position on the social whatever that you're on. But I think it's more so about using discernment in who you're listening to and trying to figure out, why would this person say what they're saying to me? Is it coming from a place of they have my best interest in heart, or is it coming from a place of, if I couldn't do it, nobody else can, and I don't want you to do it so that I don't feel less about myself.
But is there anything else you want to tell us about yourself? Or because you gave me some facts about you, and I said, wow, like I was creasing on my bed when I read it. I wanted to tell you guys a few things about Sophie. Sophie is a writer, video creator, she's a speaker, and she's a medical student. Do you know, can I talk on your writing?
Okay.
Right. Because it's so funny how like everything just comes around 360. So like I think it was around 2020, was it April or June? But I know it came in my memory sometime recently. And for me, recently can be from yesterday to 6 months ago. So that's still recent to me. So 6 months ago, I did a whole thing on my private story at the time. And you did a blog post about, are you watering yourself down? And even I went back to read it recently, and I was like, this still hits. 3 years down the line, and I thought it still hits. And I just feel like that blog post for me was really liberating at the time, because it was everything that I was thinking at the time. Because back then, I would even say right now, I'm still a shell of my true self. Do you know what I mean? But when I was younger, because you didn't really care about anything, you didn't care about how people viewed you. You didn't like me. That's okay. Your hair is bad. I'm gonna tell you something else about yourself. Do you know that sort of thing? Well, as you grow older, you become more like reserved. You think 3 times about what you're gonna say. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing, because it's not everything you feel you necessarily should voice, because no. But you just become more closed off. So then at that time, I just felt like people were making me feel like I was too much. Do you know what I mean? And then you brought that blog post, and I was like, girl, you just gave me something else. I'm about to be So then I was going back to read it recently, and I was like, why is this still hitting? Like, even though I felt like I learned that lesson 3 years ago, I still go back and I'm like, I still need to learn this lesson again. Like, but like, how's writing for you? Like, you're a great writer. Because there's another blog post I said, wow, you took my breath away.
Wow.
Yeah. How's, like, you know what, I'm going to let you talk.
Oh my gosh, that's so sweet that you bring that up. Writing, honestly, I feel like out of everything I do, funnily enough, it's the thing I love the most. I love it more than medicine. I love it more than video creation. Like, I love writing, because I feel like that's the main avenue through which I can truly express myself and truly, because there's so much within me. Do you know what I mean? And I feel like kind of a thing of, my friends aren't tired of hearing it type of thing, but it's like, I don't feel comfortable just saying it to people, because like I think in such deep ways, you know what I mean? And I feel like my blog is the only place I'm able to really express that. So I really get touched when people talk about my blog or like something I wrote, because I am not as consistent as I would like to be on it, and I will touch on that in a second. But it touches me because everything that comes from my blog comes from my heart, like from my heart. My videos, sometimes they come from my heart, sometimes I'm just bored. Do you know what I mean?
Sometimes it's just playing the algorithm.
Exactly. Sometimes it's just playing with the algorithm. But with my writing, everything I write comes from literally the depths of me. And so I'm always touched when people say they write something and it you know, spoke to them in some way. But I started writing when I was young. My first blog, funnily enough, I created when I was 10 years old. It was a fashion blog, because my mom used to encourage me to become a fashion blogger.
I love that.
She was like, that's where all the girls are, you know, makeup money, because that was obviously social media wasn't a thing back then. So my blog was literally, I don't want to give the full name in case people go and find it now, but it was like Sophie the Fashionista.
Oh, wow.
I was doing influencing before people were doing influencing.
That's the it girl. Someone that see you now would be like, oh, she just came out of nowhere. No, since she was 10.
We've been making content since
before content was even a thing.
Nah, like I came across that vlog recently and I laughed so much because I was like, what are you even saying on this? But like, I feel like that kind of shows the passion I had towards expressing myself creatively. And I became very influenced, especially when it came to writing, by what I was consuming when I was younger. So I used to use Tumblr a lot. I don't know if anyone used to be a big Tumblr user, but I used to use it a lot.
You give me Tumblr vibes.
Do I?
Yeah.
I don't know what that means,
But like, you know, I feel like you can tell the girls that kind of like use Tumblr.
Yeah. So I use it heavy as a kid. And the things I loved the most about it is it was a very expressive place. There was a lot of poetry on it. Yeah. There was a lot of people talking about very deep things. Now, I was very impressionable at this point. So whatever I would read, I would really, really think about. Yeah. And it would really make an impact on me because, you know, at 10 years old, being exposed to people talking about deep life lessons from when they were 50, it'll do something to you. So I feel like the more I read and I read and I read, I started thinking more. That's when I became a thinker because I was like, all these people are thinking a lot. Me too, let me be thinking and forming my own opinions and forming my own thoughts. And that's when I started having these deep sorts of conversations with myself in my own mind. And I remember when I created my first proper blog, I was 15 at the time or so, 14, 15.
Was Facebook days?
Yeah, Facebook days.
I remember.
Yeah, I used to, oh my gosh.
Girl, I've been a writer.
You just unlocked something about, oh my gosh.
That. Hi guys, I'm so sorry to interrupt. I know you guys are enjoying the episode, but I just need to tell y'all to subscribe. And as you're watching this right now, just pause, send this to your family, send it to your friends, send it to your group chat, whatever it is. Just make sure you share, you subscribe, and leave a comment right now. You're already far into the video. You can leave a comment. What do you think so far? So yeah, thank you guys. You can go back to the video now.
I had that blog, and that blog I kind of primarily created to just talk about my life in general, like random things. Then that's when my relationship with God started picking up. So I started not preaching, but like writing about God a lot. And funnily enough, sometimes I go back to that blog and I read the things I wrote and I'm like, damn, how did you think like this at 15 years old? Like the things I wrote back then, it's like when I look over them, I'm like, this is a revelation that I'm benefiting from right now. So I'm like, I know it was just the Holy Spirit because it made no sense for somebody of my age to be able to write those types of things. But then when it came into the more different areas of life, my first, I guess, non-God related or non-fashion or personal life related vlog, it was called My Name is Agogo. Probably remember that. That was the first time that I really spoke about something that meant a lot to me. And that blog, for those who haven't read it, was about, thank you, it was about discovering myself and realizing that I don't have to reduce myself so that other people and so that the West can accept me. Because I used to not go by my first name, Agogo. I used to go by Sophie.
We obviously, like, I've known you for a really long time, even though, like, I remember you more in like the social spaces, like, you know, blogging and stuff, than I do on a personal thing. Like even like, because guys, we go to church together. So like, I don't really think I have much of a memory of you like in church or stuff, but I know you from like, I know you more so as like a blogger. So then I just remember, okay, growing up with Koyi Agogo, then went to Koyi Sophie. Then Sophie said, no, I want to change my name to Agogo. I said, you better own that name, girl, because it's beautiful.
Exactly. And I this is something we can touch later, but I realized that the reason I changed is just because I was so desperate to belong. Do you know what I mean? Especially growing up in a space where I was one of the only Black people there. And I was actually made fun of for my name when I was in junior infants. And I think that's when it kind of began, because I actually started school telling people my name is Agogo, and then they started making fun of me. And when you're 4 years old, you're very impressionable. So my brain, I've learned about this thing now. It's like when you're a kid and stuff like that happens to you, your brain goes into survival mode. How can I best survive this situation right now? And for my brain, it was adapt, make them do anything to like you. And I realized it started actually feeding into other areas of my life as I grew older. But when I became around 17 or so, I was like, I need to reclaim myself, because I found I was losing myself so much in trying to make people accept me and trying to make me a more palpable version for people to be able to like digest or something, instead of showing up as who I really am. And I think that's what caused me to start writing a lot more, because I wanted to actually get who I was out. Like writing for me, it's not only about, you know, giving advice, it's actually about me learning about myself. Do you know what I mean? Right now, I actually just last night I wrote the title of a new blog post that I was thinking of putting out, and it was called, funny enough, Finding Myself. Talking about self-esteem, self-prioritization. I've been seeing a lot of
that content.
All of that type of stuff, because that's the season I'm in right now. Girl. Do you know what I mean? I've actually been seeing your stuff.
Because me too. Currently, me too.
Do you know?
Like, I was literally talking to a friend, one of my mutuals actually, and I was like, I thought I was done with this journey, but then one thing I had to realize is journeys like this is just a forever thing, because you're always going to change. And now I think the difference is because I journal as well. Like I don't blog post, but I'm a journal babe.
Wow.
Like I journal a lot, and I was like journaling, and I was realizing that like this is just constant. You're not going to ever find like one version of yourself and stick with. That means you didn't grow. Do you know what I mean? But I think the difference between this time and last time I went on that journey is my foundation is different now.
Yeah.
And like everything that I thought I knew, because even like last year, I think that was something I really, really like struggled with this year. And I was like, but I used to be so focused. I used to be so disciplined. I used to be so this. What happened? But then now that I'm relearning it again, it's not just relearning it based on like what I'm hearing from outside. Now the foundation of everything I'm doing, even something as small as, not even as small, something like discipline as being in the Bible. Every time I try not to do some stuff, I'm like, I hear a little rubbing of hands, a little folding hands, and now you're poor. I said, girl, I'm up. if nothing else needed to wake me up,
You gotta get on your Zoom.
every day at 10. Every day at 10. And like, I feel like now my foundations are so different as to like why I do things. As I'm going more into my relationship with God, he's like, you thought you were great? I'm a purge you of this now. So now you're going to be... And I'm like,
girl.
Okay. So every day God is a self. Yeah, it is. It is. And I love that.
Yeah, I feel like life is supposed to be like that though.
Yeah.
Like a butterfly can't get mad at the caterpillar version of itself. Do you know what I mean? It's a thing like that. You're always evolving and turning into something else, and you're never just one thing. And I think that's the beauty of life. Like honestly, even when it comes to God, I see everything in creation as a reflection of what God is trying to teach us about ourselves. Do you know what I mean? So even the trees, autumn, winter, spring, summer, their leaves shed. They become smaller at one season when they're budding out. They become orange in one season. There's one season when they're green. There's a time when there's no leaves at all. And it goes through a continual cycle of that again and again. And that's how it's supposed to be for us, you know? We're never meant to be just one thing.
Yeah, I feel like you're reading my diary, because literally this like last month or two, times and seasons, that's been the only sermon. I feel like I've listened to any sermon about times and seasons 10,000 times, because that's just that's what God is telling me. And it's like the more you fight against the season you're meant to be in, you're just fighting against progress. And like if you don't lay the foundations now, you're gonna have to go lay it sometime else. Apostle always says something like, you cannot skip a lesson in the school of the spirit. So if you were meant to do something today and you go 5 years, guess what? You're going to have to go back. He goes, this is not like school that if you miss a day you can just catch up. No, you're going to have to go back and relay the work.
You have that, and like to be able to recognize that past versions of yourself are still worthy of love, because I really think as well, like it's so important to realize, and this goes for beyond just yourself but other people as well, everybody is doing in any given moment what they think best to do. Even if they don't do the right thing, they're doing what their brain and all of their situations around them is kind of leading them as, this is the way where you're most safe. Do you know what I mean? And I think for ourselves, that should help us to be more forgiving to ourselves. Do you know what I mean? Because like recently I was thinking about one rubbish relationship situationship that I was in the past, and
That is great. God is great.
And I was looking at what I put myself through, and I was actually like, why? Like I was having a conversation with my best friend just a few days ago, and we were talking about it, and we were speaking about the topic of self-respect. Now, one thing about me is I like my friends being honest with me, and I want people to be honest with me. Like I want them to tell me the truth, even if they don't think I like it. And I asked him, do you think I respect myself? And he told me yes, but he was like, but there was a time that you didn't. Do you know what I mean? And I needed to hear that. You know, I needed to hear that. It's true. There was a time I didn't respect myself. And now, because I went through that time, I was in that time, I didn't realize, of course, that I didn't respect myself, but I was doing what I thought best to do with the limited knowledge that I had. Do you know what I mean? When people know better, they'll do better. When they don't know better, unfortunately, they won't. So it's this thing of extending grace to ourselves and to others in order to help us to kind of, you know, move forward and stuff. And even, I feel like that's one thing to me, even like kind of circling back to the topic of writing. I stopped writing for a while. Like for a while now, and that's why I've been very inconsistent this year and like kind of last year, because after my dad passed away, I struggled so much, because I told you, when I write, it comes from the depths of me. And when that situation happened, I didn't want to explore that. I knew that in order for me to write, it means I have to dig deep, and I didn't want to because I was afraid of what was going to come forth if I did. Do you know what I mean? So I was like,
I read that blog post.
Yeah.
And that was another one that really took me away. One thing you said, and I feel like for me it was really a testament of character more than anything. You said death, like birth, is one of the unifiers of mankind. And even though you were able to that's such a tragic thing to happen, but for you to see some sort of beauty in that, and I was like, wow. And I even see like with your TikTok and how like even though that has happened, and I know you said your dad was one of the biggest cheerleaders, you even used one analogy, and I really liked it, was you're my biggest cheerleader, but now there's a set of pom-poms on the bench with no one to hold.
You really read this post. Wow.
I'm a reader. Wow. I read.
Yeah.
So when you were saying you were reading Tumblr, I was like, I was reading Wattpad. But you know, God is great.
I was on Wattpad too.
God is great. But I was reading good type of books. But
let's not talk about that.
God is great. But you like, when you were saying, I was like, that's just a test of character. Even seeing your perseverance despite all that has happened. And I'm just like, again, I aspire to be like that, because I feel like a lot of people would be in similar positions, sometimes even less. And that's just the reason to be like, you know what? Bun this. I'm not doing this no more. God, you took one thing that I said you shouldn't do. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. But even seeing you rise out of that, I just think it's so admirable. And I don't know if you know that, but it really is so inspirational.
Thank you.
I just need you to like really know that. Like, you're really inspiring a lot of people daily. Even just like, even though content you want to just use to preach the algorithm, like, you're still taking something.
Wow. Thank you so much. Like, I think that's one thing that I told myself I'm gonna try and push myself to start doing more, because I really do love it. And like, I think that everybody can benefit from what another person has gone through. This is something I've always told myself, to help me get through hard things I'm going through in life. It's not for me, you know. I don't believe anything I go through is for me. I think it's for me and it's for others. Do you understand? So when my dad passed away, I remember I thought it was going to make me insane. Like, genuinely speaking, I thought I was going to go insane once it happened. Like, before it happened, because he was sick, so I knew it was coming. But when it actually happened, I remember, I don't know if I haven't shared this with much people, but I remember, because I read the story of Job a lot, and Job loses everything, you know, everything is taken from him. And he bows to the floor and he says, the Lord gives and the Lord takes away. Blessed be the name of the Lord. And I remember the morning my dad died, because we found out around 4 a.m. in the morning, I cried and I screamed and I shouted and I was so upset and angry and in shock and confusion. But one thing that kept coming from my mouth is, the Lord gives and the Lord takes away. Blessed be the name of the Lord. And I feel like it was just a faith that God put in me, that you're going to be okay. You're going to get through this. And it's not just for you. Now, I was angry. I was very angry at the time, because I believed that, you know, God was going to heal him, things were going to get better and all of this type of stuff. And when it happened, it kind of shocked me into a sort of like, oh, everything I hoped for now isn't kind of coming true. But the thing is, God is mysterious in his ways. Do you know what I mean? I truly, truly believe that he's mysterious when he does things. There are people that need to see that a girl like me has lost one of the primary figures in her life, and yet she still pursued her goals so that they can pursue their own goals. That's what matters to me. It's not necessarily about me. Honestly speaking, the reason I share my journey, even on TikTok, for example, is because I want people to look and say, well, if she could do it, then I can do it as well. Do you know what I mean? That's my primary purpose in life, genuinely speaking. Like, I want a life where people can look at me and feel like I can do that too. I don't want to be the only person that does a certain thing. I believe that that's what this thing of humanity is about. We're all on, our purpose is interlinked. Do you know what I mean? Nobody exists to just be one person and to just do one thing. We're all interlinked together. And so that's why I think none of my experiences belong to only me. I guess that's what makes me happy to share them, because I'm like, I know the power of what I would have, like, I know the power of, if I heard a story like mine, at the time I was going through what I was going through, what that would have done to me. Do you know what I mean? And so that's why I kind of aspire to be that for people who don't have that. Do you know what I mean?
Now we're going to get into the dilemma. Somebody did send something in, and I just feel like you'd be such a good person to answer this. So it says, hey,
pressure. Okay.
Hey Sharon, I hope you're good. I have a dilemma, and I hope you can help me with it. I feel like I'm constantly failing in life, and every time something great seems to be happening, it ends in failure. Now I don't know what to do with myself because I feel like a failure and I can't handle any more disappointment with myself. Though I'm happy for my friends, seeing their achievements has further made me feel like a failure, and this has led me into a state of depression, and I don't know what else to do or how to get out. Help, please.
That's heavy, yeah. Okay. The first thing I think is important to address is experiencing failure doesn't make you a failure.
Hallelujah.
Okay. Failure is an event. And even if it's a repetitive event, it's still an event. It doesn't define who you are as a person. Okay. Something happened. Maybe if you are failing every single day of your life since you were born on this earth, then you can say, okay, I'm a failure.
And even at that, there's more days to come.
Exactly. There's more days to come. So you can't call yourself a failure because things aren't working in your favor all of the time. And it's very, very, very important to address that in yourself, because if you don't, what's going to happen is because you have the mindset of, oh, I'm a failure, you're going to stop yourself from trying. You're going to stop yourself from putting your best efforts in because you keep telling yourself, if I try, I'm going to fail. If I'm trying, I'm going to fail. What you need to do is cut that mindset of, oh, I'm a failure, and just tell yourself, my path is different. Different does not mean bad. Different just means different. Do you know what I mean? There are people who see my journey on TikTok about how it took me 6 attempts to get into medicine, and they say all sorts of things like, oh, I wouldn't trust a doctor that failed. Yeah. No cap. They'll say, if you fail more than twice, there should be a cutoff point. You shouldn't be allowed to do any more than that. And all of this stuff. Like, they try and make me feel like, oh, because you failed multiple times, you're going to be a failure as a doctor. Maybe you. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, but not
maybe
me.
you. Because the thing is, they're speaking from their own experiences.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I'm not a person who quits when I put my mind to do something. And so for this person, like, I think it's important for you to realize that just because something happens again and again that doesn't feel like, you know, is working out for you, you need to kind of take a step back and change your perspective. Do you know what I mean? Change your perspective because, okay, 2021, terrible year for me. Terrible. I can completely attest to everything that you're saying about how things keep going wrong for you, because that was that year for me. Everything just kept going wrong and wrong and wrong and wrong. Everything that could fail, failed. And I remember, like, I'm not going to act like going through a failure or something that, oh, just change your mind about it and you'll be grand. I was depressed. Heavily depressed. Do you know what I mean? And I felt like, I didn't feel like doing anything. I had zero motivation. I was like, God clearly doesn't like me. Like, everything just seemed to be against me. And I was so discouraged, yeah. But what I would do is tell myself, because there was a time, I struggled with depression for a few years. And when I was younger, I remember there was a time when probably my worst depressive episode I ever experienced, I didn't think I would come out of it. It was bad. And I didn't think I was going to see the other side. And then I did. And things got better. And so that's why I always tell myself when I'm going through a tough time, look at evidence of what has happened in the past, because life follows that type of similar pattern, you know. And it's important to tell yourself that with failure, success is coming. Do you know what I mean? You just have to be patient, and don't compare yourself, because you mentioned that you're looking at your friends and everything is going well for them. Remember, they're different people to you. You're called to something else. You said something earlier that your calling is not a conference call. It's not a conference that everybody has to have the same path as you. No, your calling is individual to you. It's unique. Whatever your life, whatever destiny God has for your life, it's unique to you. And you have to actually embrace that. And honestly, the biggest thing that I would say I've learned from failure is probably one of the best lesson givers that life will ever give you. Genuinely speaking, I would not be the person I am today if not for the failures I've experienced. And I'm not just talking about medicine. I'm talking about all the failures I've experienced in different aspects of life. If you despise failure, you despise growth. That's the truth of it. Because the thing is, in every failure, there's something to learn about yourself. There's something to learn about life. There's something to learn about, okay, this went wrong. Why did it go wrong? Cool. Let me try again. Not this went wrong. I'm never going to do it again after this. Imagine, for example, you're going to the gym. The first time you go to the gym, for some reason, you decide to, say you've never been to the gym in your life, you decide to try and pick up a 50 kg type of weight. You're not going to be able to carry it. Should you say, oh,
I'm
because
never going to the gym
exactly,
again.
no, you say, okay, it didn't work. Maybe I should refine. Let me ask myself, why was I not able to carry it? Oh, because I don't have the strength yet. Oh, maybe I should start smaller. Oh, maybe I should change my strategy. You do things like that until you're able to build yourself up to a place where it's like, okay, I'm finally able to achieve that. And you know what? Maybe after a while, you'll even say, I don't want to even pick up this 50 kg anymore. There's another thing that's for me. It's about learning yourself. So that's the biggest advice I would have for that person. Do not see failure as this is the worst thing to ever happen to me. Genuinely speaking, till now, I'm happy when I fail. In my last degree, before I started medicine, in my final year, I told myself I wanted to graduate with a first class. I told myself since third year that I wanted to graduate with a first class. Semester 1 of third year, nope. Semester 2 of third year, nope. Semester 1 of final year, no. I said, but I still have this goal. So what are we going to do about it? In fact, in semester 1 of final year, so I only had one semester left to kind of build up my ability to get a first. In that semester prior to that, I got probably the worst GPA I had ever gotten in all of my time in college. And I remember weeping because I was like, all of my efforts are gone. You know what I mean? I was very dramatic because realistically a 2-1 is a great grade to get. But I had determined within myself that this is what I want. So I was angry. I was annoyed. I literally remember emailing the professor like, please, what's the meaning of this grade? I set up a Zoom meeting with him. I was like, you have to explain to me why I got this grade because I don't understand. And I was like, I want to change. And he was like, oh, it's too late. I said, okay, you still have to tell me what it is that I did wrong. And I remember after that, there was 2 options I had. I could have gone down the route of, do you know what? It's not going to happen. Let me just give up on it and do whatever type of thing. Or I fight for what I want. And you know what I realized? If not for that, I didn't fail the module, but I did do quite poorly in it. If not for that poor grade, technically failure that happened to me, I wouldn't have worked as hard as I did in the last semester I had left. I worked harder than I ever had in my life because I said it's do or die now. Failure actually acts as a motivator if you let it. It's all due to your perspective. You choose. And this is something I'm learning right now in life. Everything is up to your choice. You have so much power. Oh my gosh. You have so much power to dictate where your life goes. It's all down to your mind. So to this person, honestly speaking, before you even think about, trying again at whatever thing that failed or trying again at this, you have to work on your mindset, how you see yourself. Because if you don't fix that, those failures will continue, unfortunately. So...
yeah,
but it will get better.
There's such a thing as like contending for renewal of mind. Like we have so many belief systems that we hold on to and we think it's gospel, but it really isn't. We think it's propelling us forward when it's actually bringing us right back. Oh, sorry, I thought you wanted to say something. And when it's actually bringing us right back. Another thing I would also say to the person is you need to also weigh out what is your metric for success. What are you looking at as successful? Is it a job? Is it relationship? Do you know what I mean? And then also you're looking at your friends, because you mentioned an aspect about looking at your friends. Generally sit back and ask yourself, with these people, if it's a job, if it's career, if it's school, are you working as hard as them? Because there's always this side as well that you want results that somebody has, but you're not even putting in the work that somebody has, and now you're calling yourself a failure. There needs to be a level of I don't want to say taking accountability, but accountability in a sense.
It's wisdom.
Do you know what I mean? Taking accountability that I might put my best foot forward here. If I say I want to get first class, am I studying right? If I say I want to, I don't know, even me, I'm going to use social media. If I'm like, I want to get this, okay, but are you posting? Are you doing what you're meant to do? Then you can say that, you know what I mean? Like, then I'm a failure. But if you're not doing what you're meant to do at the right time, you need to sit back, take accountability, and also ask yourself, why do you clearly want something, but why are you self-sabotaging? Because if your actions is not matching up with what you want, I see it as an act of like, do you really want it? Or have you limited yourself to thinking that I can't attain it? So that's one thing I would also say. And even in terms of friendship, being jealous, one thing I would say as well is celebrate people. Celebrate people. If you're too busy celebrating somebody, I feel like that jealousy wouldn't have time to seep in. Do you know that sort of thing? If your friend is doing something great, rather than sitting on the side and being like, immerse, oh my God, you're doing this. How can I be of help? How can I do this? serve people.
Yeah.
And it's only when you do that you're able to have your own breakthrough. You never even, and I feel like even with friendships sometimes we're so close to somebody that we undervalue them, we undermine them. Like, because she's your friend or he's your friend, you don't see what they're doing as anything anymore because they're your friend. So like, I could be like, I don't know, Tio's friend now, and I'm like, seeing Tio do something amazing, because she's my friend, I don't see it as anything just because it's her. But if it was somebody else doing the other thing, you'd be so quick to be like, oh, how did you do it? Sometimes humble yourself, ask your friend, how do you do this? Can I get some tips and advice to you? Because clearly you guys are not equals if they're attaining results that you are not. Do you know what I mean? They're doing something that you need, and you need to be able to humble yourself and be like, I actually noticed you do this. I actually noticed your grades are always better than mine. Is there something I can improve even in my writing skills? Is there something I can improve? Is there something that I don't? Humble yourself enough to ask, rather than sitting on the fence of jealousy. Because jealousy is a very and comparison, it's a very weird emotion. It's natural, but how you navigate it is also very, very important, because there's always going to be times somebody's up and somebody's down. But it's how you navigate it really tells on you as a person. So those are the 3 things I would say.
I would
really
say
look at that.
Failure is an opportunity to assess at the end of the day. Like, you have to question why you're failing. And sometimes it's also actually important to question, is this failure just trying to redirect me? Because if you're trying the same thing again, now this is obviously with a pinch of salt and discernment and wisdom and all of that stuff. Because I've been asked the question before, why did you not give up after
that
I
was
kept
going to be
failing?
one of my questions as
Do you
well.
know?
Yeah.
Like, and it comes down to discernment. Okay, like, for example, for me and medicine, not to bring that up again, but
bring it up.
the reason why I didn't stop after the first or the second or the third or the fourth or the fifth attempt is because something deep down in me, like, I could feel it. That's the only thing I'm supposed to do.
Oh, wow.
That's the only thing I'm supposed to do.
Wow.
There's been things I've tried in life. Did it for a while, didn't work out, cool, let it go. But I think something is your calling when it will not leave you no matter what. It's like when God is speaking to you and he wants you to really hear him, he won't stop saying it. Do you know what I mean? And I prayed, like, especially after I would fail, I'd be like, God, just tell me. Like, just tell me if this isn't for me. And I'd be so angry, like, and so frustrated when he wouldn't answer back, because I'm like, what's the meaning of this?
Say, those are the times God likes to be silent.
No,
radio silent.
Let's not even talk about that. God can be silent at very frustrating times in life at times. But it's because he's trying to teach you something, honestly, and grow you and stuff. But yeah, after a while, like, I question myself. I feel like some people hear my story and they think, wow, she was resilient the whole time. She never gave up. I gave up. That's the truth. I gave up. I said it. I told my dad, I remember when he was alive, I told him, I'm not doing medicine anymore. I'm going to do dentistry now. And I remember my auntie, his sister, she told me after he died that he called her and he was begging her, please convince Agogo to do it. And the funny thing is, like,
a dentist shop.
the funny thing is, like, my dad was not the person who told me to do medicine. I decided myself. He never told me. He was never the type of person to be like, my kids must do X, Y, Z. He let us do what we wanted. He just wanted us to pursue education. But he knew it was my dream. And I guess a parent's wisdom, he knew the reason I was giving up was because I was tired and upset, not because I didn't have the capability. The thing is, every single time I would fail, my dad would tell me, it's okay, it's going to work out. Every single time. I remember the fifth attempt. I got a grade. Basically, I missed medicine by 2 points on my fifth attempt. And because I didn't expect that to happen, because if it was the year before, I would have gotten in. But that year, it went up by 2 points. And I remember I had already told my dad months prior that, oh, I got enough points to do medicine. And we celebrated and he was happy and he was telling everybody, oh, Agogo's going to start in September, and it was all good. And then offers come around in August and I didn't get one. And I didn't tell him for weeks because I was scared. I was not scared because I knew he wouldn't shout at me, but the disappointment is what I was afraid of. And he wasn't in the country at the time, so I was like, I'm just not going to tell him. And I remember the day I finally puckered up the strength to, and his reaction was so encouraging. Like, it's like it didn't faze him at all. He was just like, it's okay, God's will is still going to be done. You'll get in. Like, he had so much faith in me that shocked me. Like, no, it didn't do anything to him. He was just like, it's okay. Because I guess when you've lived so long, you realize that certain failures, they're for a purpose. And I know 100% now that the times I failed concerning medicine, 1,000% was for a purpose. I can even see the purposes for which it happened, and I'm grateful for them. Genuinely speaking, I'm grateful. But like, the thing that kept me going is I felt within me that I have to, not because somebody's pressuring me, or not because I feel like, oh, if I don't see this through to the end, then it's just not for me type of, or then I'm a failure type of thing. No, you have to be wise. You have to be wise and ask yourself, when is it time to give up? Do you know what I mean? Like, when is it time to give up because this is just not for me anymore, versus when is it time to give up because it's a matter of, or not even when is it time to give up because it's a matter of, but more so, am I only giving up because of I'm upset rather than otherwise? Am
I just succumbing to my emotions, or am I? I think I remember the time you took your sixth one. Do you remember?
Yeah.
And you came here like, this is the last one, guys. Just pray for me.
Oh my gosh, yeah, because I was saying in Bible studies at the time, But you know what's very funny? And I believe that God was intentional in this. By the time I did my sixth one, I wasn't afraid of failing anymore. Yeah. Every other time I sat an exam, I had a deep fear of failure. This time, the last time I did it, was the first time I was like, I tried my best, and I'll try my best. And if it doesn't work out, I'll try again. Yeah. I was actually enthusiastic. I prepared myself. Yeah. I didn't expect to get it when I did. I prepared myself to sit it again the next year. And I told myself I was going to do it again and again and again until I got in, because I had let go of that fear, because I suddenly realized it doesn't define me anymore. Do you know what I mean? And funnily enough, that was the time I actually got in.
And I think, especially when you're a high achiever, that's one of the best ways that the enemy is going to try and use against you, that failure, telling you that you're a failure, because everything that you want and everything in your life is screaming otherwise. But if he can get into your mind and tell you you're a failure, that's already half the job done. I remember during lockdown, I think it was 2021. I don't think I'm a happy-go-lucky person, so I don't think I ever really experienced depression, quote unquote. But that time, I didn't see a way out. I remember I would call one of my friends at the time and, hello, I just cry. Wow. There was nothing else, because what was it? And the main thing at the time was the enemy was just telling me, you're a failure. Look at you. This is everything you said. And I was like, sorry, come again. Like last week I was just having fun with my friends. All of a sudden I'm a failure. And it was really bad. Like I didn't know myself anymore. Yeah. And my mom would be so scared. She'd just always be praying. Like at that point nothing else made sense. Even school, I was like, I'm gonna quit. I'm already a failure. Let me just stop. So that feeling of failure, it's so intense. But you need to find a way to literally rise up against it. 100. Those times, like, she'd literally wake me up to the NSPPD prayers, and they were like at 6 a.m. And she was like, even if you're not praying, sit and listen to it. Sit and listen to it. Sit and listen to it. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Until there was something, because she was like, you need to have a renewal of mind. Yeah. Your mind is being so congested right now that you need to detox whatever it is in your mind to allow what God wants. That was my mom. That's allow what God wants for you. Wow. So my mom she literally was like, she would wake me up every single day, call me into her room. She would literally just pray for me. And like, even sometimes I couldn't say amen. I was just crying because like my mind was not mine anymore. But then there's just that moment. You just need to persevere to that moment where everything breaks through. And I remember there was that breakthrough moment of me, even though I still went back in. Yeah. But there was just that little moment of like, I can breathe again. Yeah. Because I've been there. Yeah. And I know how isolating it can be, because the enemy will tell you, you're a failure. Nobody wants to be there. Da, 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 da. So even as someone, if you're feeling like you're in that place of failure, reach out to people. Yeah. Don't stay in that depressive state. Don't allow what is in your head to actually manifest your reality, because all you have to do is believe something and you will walk exactly as that thought. Do you know what I mean? If you believe you're great, you will become great. If you believe you're less than, you're going to be less than. So reach out to people, reach out to a community of people that you have wherever that you are, and allow them pour into you. We have question of the day now. Okay. So my question of the day for you is, if you were to go back and tell a girl, I'm not going to say years back, 6 months ago, something, what would you tell her? Or what piece of advice would you give her 6 months ago, starting out the year, January?
That is a very interesting question. 6 months ago. It's easier when you're thinking years back. You know?
But because we were talking about, you've grown even from sundown.
Yeah. 6 months ago. Damn. What would I tell myself in January of this year in terms of what I've learned now? I would say, don't be afraid to ask for help. don't be afraid to ask for help when you know that you need it. And I'm not even talking about help on a small scale, like, oh, I need to reach this thing or grab that thing. When you know you need deep help, ask for it. And don't keep things to yourself. Do you know what I mean? Like, if you are going through something and you're questioning, am I crazy? Am I overreacting? Am I thinking mad? Is it me? Is it that? Speak to your friends. You know what I mean? Like, speak to people. Don't keep things inside, because it will eat at you. It'll destroy you, you know? Like, ask for support. That's what I say, especially because, like, there's a specific area of my life that relates to, but also, like, even with medicine, I feel like people don't realize how intense it is. Like, they really, really don't. Genuinely speaking, the last set of exams I did, I felt sick. I almost didn't sit the last exam because my body was shutting down out of stress. Simply out of stress. That has never happened to me in my life. Do you know what I mean? Because I was just pushing myself so much. And, like, when people don't understand, like, why, oh, I'm saying no to this plan because I'm busy, they think, oh, this is this thing. There's one thing I really don't like when people say of, oh, if they really cared about you, they wouldn't be busy. Like, be for real. Like, be for real. Like, be realistic.
Heavy on that, be for real.
Do you know what I mean? Like, we're adults here. The truth is, people want to make time for you, but we have other commitments. Like, don't try and, honestly speaking, and I'm very strict on this. If I see a friend in my life who is not understanding towards how my schedule is, or how I have a lack of availability or lack of time, we're not going to be friends. It's just not going to work.
Are you speaking to me right now? Because that's one thing, like, even right now, God's just like, they either on the season or they're not. Do you know what? Like, times and seasons. It doesn't matter how long you've known them. If they're not understanding of where you are right now, they got to go. Yeah. They got to go. But no, I hear that for real.
You get me? Like, because I love my friends and I love people. I love all sorts of people, but you have to...
all sorts?
No, but you have to be wise. Like, not everyone is for you. Even if they were for you at one point in your life, doesn't mean they're still for you now. Do you know what I mean? Like,
that's one of the hardest things, especially if
in
that season they played a pivotal role.
Yeah.
Now trying to, like, go without them,
Look,
it's tough.
But you'll live. My motto, I don't know if this is a good motto, like, so don't take this for where, do you know what I mean? Like, no, but genuinely, my motto is if you could live without them before, you can live without them again.
I know, that's right.
Do you know? And that's my mindset for absolutely everybody, genuinely speaking, like, maybe except my family.
We were speaking about this even on the way here. Like,
you know,
anybody can go.
Anybody can go. If you can, and if you could live without them before, you can live without them again. And that goes for people who might be listening to us and you're in an unhealthy relationship or you're in a very unhealthy friendship. If you could live without them before, you can live without them again. Like, you have the capability within you. Like, and I stand heavy on that. Like, I love people sincerely, but if you're not good for me, bye.
You gotta go.
Like, it's okay.
Because even me, I'm like, people are like, distance makes the hearts go fonder, not me. Distance just, no, for real, distance just makes me learn how to live without you. I'm okay.
Period.
Like, once there's that level of, like, distance, please, like,
forget
you can
that.
go.
I say.
But Sophie, thank you so much. I just feel like this episode, I can't wait to watch it back because I feel like I'm going to, like, pick up a lot of things. I'm like, oh my God, did she really just say that? So thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
I really do appreciate. Before we sign off, I just want to let you guys know. I want you guys to tell me what you learned from today's episode. So go on Twitter and use hashtag when Sharon Speaks and then tell us what you learned on today's episode, because I'm going to be looking out for that. And before you go, Sophie, I just have something little to just, present you with, just to say thank you. Yes.
Oh my gosh. I wasn't expecting this. Oh, thank you so much. This is so sweet. Thank you, Shannon. Thank you so much for honestly having me on your show. Like, I've been watching your previous episodes. I'm not much of a video podcast watcher, to be honest.
It's
like,
on Spotify.
Is it on Spotify?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Let me be going and checking, like, because I be listening to podcasts all the time. But no, I started watching it when you started bringing it out, and I've watched most of the episodes, not all of them, but most of them. And it's honestly just so amazing to see you, like, actually live out in your purpose, because I feel like you have a personality that's made for something like this. Do you know what I mean? You have a personality to be seen, and that's why I love even seeing everything you're doing on TikTok, for example, and other stuff, YouTube and stuff, because you have it in you. And the fact that you're now, like, walking in it, and even what we were talking about earlier, that you felt discouraged, like, oh, should I post or should I not? And you went ahead and did it. Like, that's so inspiring, and it's just evidence that God's hand is upon your life. So keep going with this podcast, because you're doing an amazing, genuinely speaking, an amazing job.
Thank you. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I'm shy. Thank you so much, Sophie. Like,
Nice.
honestly, like, even though, like, I feel like I've known you, I feel like in this season, God has really let me know people differently in a different, like, aspect. And you definitely didn't fall short to my expectations. So thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.
Guys, make sure you like, comment, and
Like,
subscribe.
share, subscribe.
I ain't saying that for fun. Y'all
Bruh.
need to subscribe because ask me why the algorithm, the thing be telling me that, like, over 60% ain't subscribed. Guys, don't be
People
wicked.
be cheeky, man,
Subscribe.
especially on
Subscribe.
YouTube. Subscribe.
All right, guys. See you guys in the next episode.
Bye.
Bye. Ah!